Welcome to the Seeker's Quest podcast. We are here reading through the Gita. I'm here with Veda Sar, who is in Georgia, leading a retreat right now in the mountains. And my name's Radha Priti, and I live in Pittsburgh. And we are going to start today where we left off the last time. We're going to start on chapter 1, text 15. How are you, Veda?
I am doing great. Things are going great. Everything seems to be going great.
Are you camping at your retreat? Do you have outdoor accommodations over there?
They have, but the cabins are great. Amazing waterfalls and zip lining on the water. And there's something called a blobber. I learned something new about this, about American culture. Does
What
anybody
is
know
that?
what a blobber is?
I don't know what a blobber is.
Oh, your 50% of your life is wasted.
I think more than that, if I'm being
Blobber.
honest.
No, I had no idea what a blobber was. Then there's this big, huge tube of air, but it's loosely
Okay.
packed. So someone sits on the other side, and then you jump on this side, and they go flying in the sky.
Oh, wow. And it really works. Like they really go up high,
They really
not just
go.
like a little bit. Wow.
They can go up high.
Did you get blobbed or did you blob?
No, you have to blob people, and so the one who blobs others is called a blobber. And when you get blobbed, is the person who goes flying.
Yeah. So which one are you?
Both. Everyone
Oh,
has to do both. It's fun. It's
sweet.
interesting thing I learned here.
This is a retreat center that you're at?
It's a Methodist retreat center.
Oh, cool.
There's many other Christian groups who are doing the retreat at the same time, and it's very interesting.
Wow. That sounds lovely.
We have
Okay.
our own section of the park.
Very cool. I'll have to come sometime.
You must.
Yeah. Okay, should we get into it?
I'm ready.
All right. So we're starting on chapter 1, text 15. And I just shared my screen.
So everyone, hold on to your seats, buckle your seat belts. We're ready to recite the Gita. Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahashankham Bhimakarma Vrikodara.
Lord Krishna blew his conch shell, called Pankajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the ferocious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell, called Pundra. Okay, so here, just to kind of reorientate ourselves, we're back. Sanjaya is narrating, and Sanjaya, again, is the assistant of the king, the father of Duryodhana, the evil prince. So Sanjaya is narrating. Okay, so we'll just reorientate there. Now, all the conch shells have names, which is kind of peculiar, but depending on who owns the conch shell, they have specific names. And this just indicates that this is something very real, like very vivid details that we're getting here in this text. And one thing that we did in the Sanskrit, Krishna is referred to as Hirikhetra or Hirikesha. How do I say this?
Rishikesha.
Rishikesha. Thank you. And this means owner of the senses. So this is referring to Krishna in the heart, meaning that he can direct our senses to the degree that we are surrendered to him, that we want him to. And he's called this in this verse to indicate that he's going to direct Arjuna's transcendental senses. And this is kind of a sweet point because he does this for us too, to the degree that we allow. You know, Krishna is in all of our hearts, and to the degree that we align with him, he'll direct us. And even if we don't, he'll help us to get whatever it is that we feel like we want. So this is kind of the relationship that Arjuna and him will have, in that, as we'll see as we go on, Arjuna will become surrendered to him. What do you think? What do you think of this, Veda?
Uh, it's a powerful point that we see Krishna's blowing his conch shell Panchajanya. He actually conch shell he got after a big battle, and his conch shell, its resemblance of victory. Just the fact that he blows his conch shells. But more importantly, this point of second point that I think is when Bhima is called Vrikodara. Vrika Udara means someone who is a voracious eater. He's such a heavy eater that he was never allowed to share equally, you know. So whenever the Pandavas, their mother used to cook, they would divide the food into two parts and give him half, and then the other four would share the other half. You know, Bhima was, his fire of digestion was very strong. And he was also known as someone who did a lot of Herculean tasks, which means his measurement of his strength was 10,000 mad elephants. It's pretty interesting how the warriors measured their strength with the most powerful animal in nature, the biggest one, the most powerful one. And so he needed a lot of food. There's many stories of Bhima and food. He doesn't like
Bhima is
this.
one of the five Pandavas, one of the brothers. And in this verse, we didn't get a full appreciation for the Sanskrit refers to each of these names, or refers to each of these characters. And by what the Sanskrit says, it reveals kind of like a little backstory about them. So that's the backstory that Bhima's name kind of reveals, or the characteristics about them.
Yeah, everyone's name has a unique meaning. Like Rishikesha that we're discussing, Panchajanyam Rishikesha. He's the he's the controller of the senses, the owner of the senses. And the beautiful part of this verse is that our senses are the most dominant forces in our lives that determine our direction and trajectory in life. We are driven by our senses, the five senses. Wherever they drive us, we go. They're like those wild horses. And that's why you'll see Krishna is a charioteer for a reason, because he is directing the senses. And if he is directing the senses, then you're good. And if we let the senses direct itself, then I'm not sure where we may end up. So it's a very powerful point, this Panchajanyam. Rishikesha, this Sanskrit word Rishikesha, that if our senses are devoted to the divine and let the divine navigate and direct our senses, then we have no problems. Because someone who knows how the senses work, someone who presides over the senses, then we're safe. We're in safe hands. But if the senses are left in our hands, then we'll think of whatever, eat whatever, hear whatever, and do whatever, and eat whatever, smell whatever, see whatever, and all our senses will go in all different directions. And that's how we become very confused and scattered and lost. Imagine your five senses being pulled in five different directions. That's why we freeze, we become directionless, not sure where to go. And that's why this Rishikesha the owner of the senses, is used because Sanjaya knows that if he's the one who's guiding the senses of the Pandavas, and particularly, personally, the senses of Arjuna, being the chariot driver, and then everything is a guaranteed victory. So that's a very interesting word in this verse to keep in mind. Rishikesha, the owner or the creator or the controller of the senses.
Beautiful. Thank you. Should we move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
Okay, now we are on 116 through 18. They're all together here. Computer's a little bit slow. Let's go. Do you happen to remember this, Veda? Oh, you don't have to. Look at that.
Ananta Vijayam Raja Kuntiputro Yudhishthira Nakula Sahadevascha Sughosha Manipushpako Kasyascha Parameshwasa Sikhandi cha Maharatha Drishtadyumno Viratascha Satyakischa Parajita Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasa Prithivipate Shobhadrascha Mahabahu Sankham Dadmau Prithak Prithak.
Wonderful. Okay. King Yudhisthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijaya, and Nakula and Shahadeva blew the Sukosa and Manipuspaka. The great archer, the king of Kasi, the great fighter, Sikhandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, and unconquerable Satyaki, Drupad, the sons of Draupadi, and others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells. Okay, that was a mouthful. That was the rest of the Pandavas all blowing their conch shells. And here the power of the Pandavas is being highlighted, again foreshadowing the eventual doom of the Kuru dynasty. And even in this verse, we didn't get a full appreciation for it again without the Sanskrit, but Sanjaya is very heavily implying that to Dhritarashtra that the Pandavas are likely going to win here. And all of this is due to King Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons, even though he had multiple warnings not to, from multiple people that were close to him, Sanjaya, including Sanjaya, but various other people that were trusted advisors that he just refused to listen to. So this is interesting, because he has this attachment to his son that he's just like, that's it. It doesn't matter what anybody says. It doesn't matter. He's just going along with his son, even though his son's not in the right. And so that's like mistake number one, right? But then mistake number two is, in spite of all of the warnings that he gets from people that he shouldn't be doing this, he does it anyway. And now we're at this place where there's this war that is inevitable. Because he's just so stuck in his own way and he's incapable of listening to good advice. What do you think, Veda?
It's a powerful lesson that in this world, we have to always keep in mind that we need to surround ourselves with people that we can trust and possibly hear some honest advice. In this world, it's it's a big problem when we surround ourselves with people who may not have the right kind of intelligence or be able to guide you. So it's a big indicator in the life of Dhritarashtra. He is blind from birth, and he's not able to see with his eyes, but he's able to see with the actions of Duryodhana, his son, who continuously misguide him, and he just goes with it. So this attachment that we have is what is causing him to be blind in his judgment of life. You may notice that this is a very important principle in life, that uh, our material attachments, deep material attachments, it can blind the truth from us. And that's why the sages are always saying, become attached to nice people, saintly people who will tell you the truth. Most times, if someone tells us something we don't like, we immediately push them away from our circle of friendships because they're not friends, because they don't agree with us. And in all reality, someone who can present the truth to us that we can see properly, make us see properly, and that may be unpleasant, but that is a real friend, and that is what we need in our circle. And Dhritarashtra doesn't have that. Dhritarashtra is completely stuck because he's so attached to his son, so attached that he is instrumentally enabling him to to completely separate and segregate one family into two. Imagine, they're all part of one dynasty, and he's instrumental along with his sons to, the Pandavas dynasty and the Kuru dynasty. So it's a big lesson for us to keep in mind that this. Rather, have you ever had any friends that you discarded because they told you what you were doing was not right, and you're like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be your friend anymore because you try to correct me, and that's not what I want.
I don't know that I discarded them, but I think I have got to the point where I like knew that what I was doing was probably not the healthiest, and I knew that they probably wouldn't approve, and so I didn't share it with them. So even that, like, or I was embarrassed I was embarrassed for myself of what I was doing, and so I just kind of skipped that part in our friendship so that I wouldn't get chastised, even though I knew, like, what the right course of action was. Yeah, I've done that. I've done that.
See, in our lives, we need three kinds of people, and we'll have multiple roles that we play in our lives. In Sanskrit, they're called the Uttamas, Madhyamas, and Kanishta. So basically, Lisa may have heard this. There's the guide, and then there's the peer, and there's the dependent. So everyone will fluctuate, their roles will fluctuate. Sometimes we're the guide, sometimes we're the peer, and sometimes we're the dependent. So our roles fluctuate. But one thing we do forget all the time is to always have circle of people within our communities that are our guides, that we respect their judgment, we respect their wisdom, we respect their intelligence, and that we are ready to be guided by them. And we are also guides for other people who are junior to us, who are dependent on us. But in this case, Dhritarashtra, he had many guides, but he didn't listen to any guides. So basically, he had no guides, no one above him. He just had peers and dependents. And what happens? The whole war happens that he could have stopped because he did not respect, or actually receive the relationships that were there to guide him. So it's a very powerful lesson that in ourselves, we have these three roles that we play. And these three roles, three kinds of people is what we need to have in our lives.
Yeah. I like too this point about attachment. You know, the Gita teaches us what healthy detachment is, which is not just like, okay, I don't care. I'm just gonna go off and be detached and I don't care. It's not really about letting go of people as much as letting go of expectations of people and really kind of purifying your intention in serving them. Like if you have children or a spouse, you know, showing up for them out of duty because it's the right thing to do, because just selfless love, as opposed to like putting your own self-interest, mixing your own self-interest in there, or you know, trying to get something from them, like some kind of love or affection. Like you're just purifying your intention. You're staying on course. You're doing what's right, and you're letting go of the expectation of what happens after that. And that's can be so, it can really connect you so much more in relationships, and then it can also kind of liberate you personally from being bound by the things that by the unhealthy things that can bind you in relationships.
Well, attachments are of various kinds, but if the attachment, the force of the attachment is something material, then we'll become blind. But there is spiritual attachments that we become attached to our guide because they have genuine interest to guide us on the right path. And so material attachments, you know,
Messy.
yeah, and we will, it's called blind walking, I think, where you're blind, but you're still walking. You're physiologically walking straight, but your intelligence is completely misguided and blinded by material attachments. And you know, you can see that in this case of Dhritarashtra. He's a powerful king. His son is powerful, but his attachment to his son is so strong. It's so strong. He's not able to see anything else beyond that, beyond the attachment to his son.
I've also been there. That person in life before. It's really dangerous.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Oh, I've been in a relationship like that where like I would have done anything that the person wanted me to, um, regardless of how like destructive or stupid or detrimental it was. I would have just done it to receive their love. And
You're attached to seeking that love, right?
yeah, yeah, that was my attachment, and I couldn't let it go. And I'm so dang determined that like once I'm on something, I'm on it, and it was really dangerous. Yeah. That was when my friends and I knew what my friends and family thought, but I just like ignored it. Probably similar to this, but quite different. But those stages I went through, this is unhealthy attachment. Okay, I'm going to ignore what everybody tells me and just proceed on.
Sometimes you may also notice there's this codependency we have.
Yeah.
We are just so attached that we just become, we just we just we just lose our identity. Dhritarashtra here, he forgets he's the king, that he has all these powers. But his attachment is so strong towards Duryodhana that actually Duryodhana, his son, has all the powers. And Duryodhana, being a very interesting character here, he knows it and he's taking full advantage of it. He is de facto the king. He's not the prince, he's de facto king. Because he knows his father's attachment is so deep. And because he's not in the mode of goodness, so he's misusing his father's attachment to him. And which is what happens in relationships. When we become materially attached to others, material relationships, if they're not the right fit for your attachment, there's a possibility that we will be misguided and that attachment would cause us pain and suffering.
Yeah, that was my experience. You know what got me out of that, Veda?
Tell me.
I was in that relationship for 5 years, and then I went to India, and I started chanting the Maha Mantra. And when I got back and was chanting it, I just started feeling totally different. And then a month later, I was like, yeah, this is not at all what I want. It was like so clear to me, like, what am I doing? And so I just left it. And then I actually went back to India for a couple months. But that was like the only thing that got me out of that. I'd definitely still be in it if I didn't become attached to something much greater and higher.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. You know, we have to be attached because that's our nature. Because we are an expansion of the divine, and we're supposed to be connected to the divine at all times and be attached to the divine. And when that shifts from attachment to the divinity to not so divine characters in this world, then we're lost. So what you did by dedicating yourself to meditation, japa meditation, and associating with people who could guide you properly, because I know your story. You had guides in your life. You didn't just have peers and dependents. You actually had guides in your life that you trusted. And so they were
Well,
able.
I guess in all fair, okay, when I got out of that, I actually didn't tell any of those guides about that relationship because I was embarrassed. But then they did give me good advice that I didn't listen to for a little bit, and then I started listening. So it took me a little bit even to listen to the good guides, but now I'm on track. Now I'm listening. All right. Now I'm listening because I learned my lesson with the good guides after that.
And the funny thing you'll the funny thing you'll notice is that nobody likes guides because it takes an effort to to allow someone else to allow someone else to navigate our life, because our ego thinks that we know it all. We know it all. And the thing and the beauty of it is that the more our consciousness evolves, the more we are eager to be guided.
Yeah, you
So the
learn
people
pretty
that are
quickly.
actually guided are the people who are actually guided are the people who are more advanced, because they are ready to surrender and accept guidance. But till that stage, the ego is like, no, I know what I'm doing. You know, we've been fed this ego for so long, so our ego becomes fatter and fatter and fatter, and it's solid. There's so much ego all around us. It's sometimes you can't fit it into a room. And even this world is too small for our fat egos, because it's what we've been fed. So it's really, really hard to accept guides. So Dhritarashtra in this situation, he's like, it's impossible. He can't literally see, and his intelligence is blocked, and his mind is lost. So it's a pretty tough situation for this blind king.
Yeah. Can I tell you the rest of my story?
Yes.
Okay, so when I went back to India the second time, met Brad Swami, and I asked him to be my guru. And he told me, don't change anything up really quick in your life. Just stay with what you're doing, stay steady. I was like, okay. So then I went home and I quit my job and I moved to Philadelphia and I was going to manage this
That's your
yoga
version of
studio.
being steady?
No, it
Don't
wasn't
change
at
anything.
all. It wasn't at all. Like
Don't change
he
anything
told
in
me
your life. You
that.
just go home and quit your job.
I know that's the point. I was like, okay, I got this. I can do this. So I quit my super steady job that like took care of me in ways I didn't really even fully appreciate until I didn't totally have it anymore. Um, and so I was going to move to Philadelphia and manage this yoga studio, but it was just like not at all what I thought that it was going to be. And it was just like not, it was not steady enough. My mind was not steady. And I noticed this pretty quickly. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what did I do? Anyway, I ended up just applying to another job that was in my field and getting it and moving to Pittsburgh, and it all ended up okay. But from that, I learned like, okay, this really evolved soul just told me, gave me direction of what to do. I completely didn't listen to it. And I can see now why he gave me that advice. Like I wasn't ready. My mind was not steady enough to handle that big of a transition at that time. And I made it through by the mercy of Krishna, but I was like, I wasn't ready. So then the second time when I wanted to quit this new job that I had, that was actually like quite an upgrade even from the original job that I had before. I was like program manager now, and I was like, it was a great job. I went to him again and asked him, and I thought he's not going to say yes. Like he's gonna. I went because I wanted to quit again for service, and he actually this time he encouraged it, but he said, make sure your husband is fully supportive and not just surrendering to this. So I went to my husband and I was like, look, you got to make sure that you're actually okay with this and you're not just telling me, because I know what happens when I go
Did you have a
against
gun to his, did you
what
have a
he
gun to
told
his
me.
head when you asked him that?
No, no, I was sincere because I at this time also I was okay. I was like my job was one I actually everything was great. I just the calling in my heart was bigger than what I was doing at my job. So I would have been okay. I really felt that way inside. Like it was very conducive to my skill set. I loved my colleagues. I had like finally found from a material situation like this perfect job. But it wasn't really calling my heart. So when I did tell when I went to my husband, it was like, all right, this is what Radha Swami told me. And you actually really need to check yourself. Like, take some time, think about it, make sure you're really surrendered to this. Because if you're not, I'll stay. And I know that's for the better. And that's where I am now. Now I'm like, okay, whenever I ask Radha Swami, I do whatever he says, whatever he says, because I learned. Yeah, that's my story.
That's a good story. It's very
Okay.
difficult to surrender, it's very difficult to accept someone as a guide. I have many students. I know one student in particular. She said, I'm not going to surrender to you. And I said, I'm completely fine. And she threw a tantrum and she threw a fit. And I asked for a small shift, a small shift. And it took a lot of time and finally spun around and said, okay, I accept you as my guide. Please guide me. And I said, okay, finally. But like this whole tantrum and like, this is normal human behavior because we think that it's hard to trust. Human beings have been most human beings have gone through so much in their life. And it's difficult to trust.
Well, and you kind of start to learn
So the
like the only real person you can trust is yourself. You're like, I'll take care of myself. I don't know. That's where I was. I was like, I'll take care of myself. But
But
it's
then that's
beautiful.
okay if you know the self. Okay,
Yeah,
if you
but
know
I
the self to
didn't.
take care of them. But the thing is that we don't know the self and we're trying to take care of the self, and that's where we get more lost.
Yeah. Amen to that. We'll say amen in this podcast. Is that okay?
I love amen.
That's so true. It's so
Has
true.
anyone else have been in this situation?
Hands up.
Maybe we should ask to hear one of their stories.
Okay, let's do that at the end. Let's do that at the end. Let's move on for now and do that at the end. So maybe you guys can think of that and somebody
You'd
can share
lose
with us.
the charm will be gone. So then
All right. All right. Does anybody want to share right now?
one story. Okay, then I want to share. So you
Okay,
can
if you
move on.
change your mind at the end, the opportunity's still here.
I could share a quick story.
Oh, great. Is
Radha
this
says,
Lisa?
Radha says yes. Radha
Yeah.
says I speak. So it's kind of a combination. As I was moving, I heard spirit say to me, you're going to be given something. And I said, oh, great, I'm going to be given something. Life is going to change. It's going to be amazing. And then I took off making it happen. Now, it was the instruction was that I was going to be given something. And then I decided that I was going to make it happen. And I created quite a disaster for myself. Everything looked like it fit what I thought Spirit was saying I was to be given. And it's like, wasn't exactly how it happened. And until I was ready to surrender and listen to the still small voice, I didn't have any evidence that I was being guided spiritually. So when I looked for my evidence, it wasn't there. And so I had to sit and be quiet and listen to the still small voice, is what I'm hearing as you're speaking this morning, which is an indication of my receptivity to being guided. So that's my story.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing. I do almost feel like once you get really good, like pillars, like people that are pillars in your life that you really trust and that are really aligned and that are just genuinely want your best interest and spiritual growth at heart. That's really what they want. It's so nice to have that to turn to and ask, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Am I totally off base here? Or this was my experience. Is this crazy? Like I'm totally into that now. I have like 3 core people. You, Veda, Dhanara Swami, and Rana Swami. I'll be like, this is where I am. Is this crazy?
And Radha actually never listens to what I say anyway.
That's not true. I listen to you all the time. I totally listen to you. I absolutely give it back to you.
Only if I conform to what she wants to do, then she listens.
We can get into this offline.
But this is the human nature, though. We only like to listen to advice that conforms to what we want to do.
Yeah.
But that's not real guidance. That's not accepting guidance. And Dhritarashtra has some serious problem with this.
Yeah. My therapist would say the universe will throw like a light reminder to you, and then they'll throw like, like a paper airplane or like just, and then it'll start throwing bricks at you, like as you don't get it. Like, okay, it's time to listen. I took a lot of bricks. And I've got some trauma from the bricks. Okay, should we move on?
Let's do it.
All right, now we are on 117. Or I lied, 119.
Sagho, I'm gonna put on my reading specs. Saghoshodhartarashtranam hridayani vyadharayat nabhascha prithivim chaiva tumulo bhyanunadayan.
The blowing of the different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of Dhritarashtra. Okay, so here, if you remember, the Kauravas, when they blowed their conch shells, it was described as tumultuous, indicating that they were ready for war. We covered that like the last session. They blew their conch shells and it was like, all right, they are ready. They're pumped up, they're ready. But the Pandavas, now this is described as it's spread everywhere and it's shattering hearts. So the volume is greater and the impact is greater. And this is all just indicating that the Pandavas will be victorious. All this is just foreshadowing that they'll be victorious. And that Duryodhana's mind games have failed because the spirit and the morale of the Pandavas is so much greater. Do you have anything that you want to add here, Veda, or should we go to the next one?
Just a quick note, the sounds that we make, the emotion, the consciousness that we have when we blow these conch shells. The Pandavas were so confident that Krishna is with them. He's driving the chariot, so we're good. their confidence just in the tumultuous blowing of the conch shells. It was so uproarious that it actually reached the kingdom, and Dhritarashtra could hear it. He could hear the confidence of the blowing of the conch shells. It's a powerful point for me. I felt that you can actually hear the sound and know whether you got it or you don't. And he realized that we don't got it. We don't have this. So that's why his heart is shattered. We can go to the next.
Okay. $120.
Atha vyavasthitan drishtva dhartarashtran kapidvaja pravritte shastra sampate dhanurudyamya pandava rishikesham tada vakyam idam ahamahipate.
At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Krishna these words. So here the battle is just about to begin. And at this point, Dhritarashtra is disheartened because it's clear who's going to be victorious. And in this text, when it talks about the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, this is just another positive omen. We talked about omens, I think, in the last episode. So the flag on the chariot was marked with Hanuman because Hanuman cooperated with Ram in the battle between Ram and Ravana, and Ram emerged victorious. So it's just, again, another positive omen that they're going to win. What do you think of that, Veda?
I think flags are a big part of life. These warriors, millions of soldiers in this country, they go fight for the flag. And so the flags are a very symbolic sign. In every country, the citizens, they plead allegiance to the flag. And all countries in the world has a flag because it represents the character of the country. I remember when I first heard the American national anthem.
I love your stories about firsts in America. They're always so entertaining.
Yeah, because when I had to take oath to be an American citizen.
Oh man, did you hate that?
21 years ago. No, I was actually very emotional.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
Because it was very interesting. We were all there and we are holding, our hands to our heart and we're holding the flag, and the President of the United States is there welcoming us to be the citizens of the United States of America. And we all get to memorize the American national anthem. And the emotional attachment that everyone makes to the flag, especially in the military and immigrants, it's a very interesting phenomenon. Everyone in the room, I was taking oath along with maybe 40 other people from all over the world. Practically everyone had tears. I mean, it was a journey to be able to hold on to that flag and embrace the national anthem of the country. And here I'm noticing that Hanuman, all the kings in the battlefield on top of the chariot, they all had flags, different symbols and different preferences and different powers, And here we had Hanuman, and Hanuman everyone knows. Hanuman just appeared on the flag because when he encountered Bhima in the Gandhamadana mountains, when he went to get the flowers, he actually invited Hanuman to come and join the fight with him. And he says, you know, I'm old. I fought enough and I just need to rest. And he said, but you're my brother. He says, okay, I'll come there for you. And I will sit on the flag of Arjuna's chariot. Why Arjuna's chariot? Because Krishna is driving the chariot, and Hanuman cannot be away from Krishna. He wanted to be with the master of the senses. And he told Bhima, he said, whenever I get into the battlefield, I will make sure that I roar really loud wherever you're around. So I will always give you support. And so in the Mahabharata war, whenever Bhima would do some, heroic acts on the battlefield, Hanuman would roar. And when Hanuman would ever get exhausted, Bhima would get exhausted, Hanuman would roar to inspire him to fight. So it's a very powerful symbol that Kapidwaja, the monkey flag, is there presiding with the Lord of his heart, Krishna. And so, that is a very powerful statement of victory, because Hanuman had never lost, as you know. He was instrumental in bringing victory to Lord Ram by flying into Lanka and, being the messenger and leading an army of monkeys. So that's my immediate thought on it.
Very nice.
You want to share something on that?
No, I don't know much about flags. Nope. I got nothing, but that was beautiful. Thank you. Does anybody else want to share anything? If anybody came up with a story about a time that they were crisscrossed in their listening or attachments, or if anybody just wants to share a reflection or question or anything at all.
We have 7 minutes. We have one more verse to finish today's agenda also.
Oh, you want to finish? Wow. I was going to skip it. I'm
on it.
Veda and I go back and forth because I'm very structured and I like a plan and a sequence, and Veda is like spontaneous, and we didn't get to meet to talk about our plan this time. So it's been a little bit, but I've actually been thinking it's kind of been nice actually, the spontaneity. I felt a little less attached to the plan, Veda. But
That's
here you are
good.
attached.
Keep practicing the attachment. You'll be happy.
All right, we could do one more. You want to do one more?
Let's do it.
Okay. Um, 121 and 122. They're grouped together again. Go ahead, Veda. Can you see it?
Arjuna uvacha senayor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapayamechyuta yavadetan niriksheham yodhukaman avasthitan karmaya sahayodhavyam asmin rana samudhyame.
Arjuna said, "O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in the great trial of arms." Okay, so here Arjuna has no desire to fight his cousins. We know this. But at this point, he's kind of being forced to after the peaceful negotiations didn't work. So now he wants to go over to the middle so that he can see the other side, so that he can make an estimate of the force that he has to face. And here Krishna is the chariot driver, and he's being the obedient servant as Arjuna requested. And we've talked about this point before too, but again, it's so beautiful. Even though Krishna is supreme and all knowing and never loses that position, he'll take the role as a servant of his devotee, and it'll give him transcendental happiness. In the same way that, we maybe kind of appease our children, and it makes us happy to see them happy. That same kind of relationship can exist, where even though Krishna is all knowing, he'll acquiesce to our desire, and it gives him happiness. What do you think of that, Veda?
I think it's a very powerful point, that we often think that, we're alone in this world. And when we ask the divine to intervene in our lives, they're just happy to do it. But the point is, we're not ready for divine intervention. We don't ask for it. I've been noticing a lot in my life lately, dealing with interesting people. They get beaten down to their knees by the material energy, and the message is not clear. The universe is trying to corral us in the direction of this mood of surrender and prayer, but we're just not interested. And then eventually we just keep getting beaten down on our knees, and it's just telling us that it's time to surrender and ask for help. And so it's very important, when we are put on our knees, it is time for us to seek help and divine intervention in our lives. And when we seek divine intervention, it's there. The minute we are not the controllers, we're not Ishwari Devi Dasi.
Is that a reference to my new name? Thanks, Veda. Let's note that I was good going with spontaneous today. You wanted to do the plan. I said, okay, Veda, I'll acquiesce.
It's a funny thing, because Radha one day was joking with me, and she said, "Hey, can you give me a new name?" I said, "Yeah," and it didn't even take me a moment. And I said, "Your name is Ishwari." That means the controller.
Yeah.
So this
Very
whole
funny.
point, the whole point in this verse is that the divine is ever ready to reciprocate with us, provided we ask for help. And it's very important to ask for help in this world. It's a very beautiful thing. And Arjuna he's not commanding. He's actually asking Krishna, please take this chariot to the middle of, Achyuta, and he uses the term, infallible one. You never fail. You never fail to protect your devotees. So please take my chariot in between the two armies. So it's a very beautiful verse.
Even if we're not ready, even if we're not quite ready to surrender, Krishna never gives up on us. He's always there in the heart, and he's ready whenever you're ready. And that is also beautiful. Or if you're like halfway there, he'll still throw you a bone. When I moved to Philadelphia, and I was like halfway, I was like trying to do it right, but I was just like not quite ready. I think my second day in Philadelphia, I had my first date with my husband, who is like Mr. Steady, Mr. Reliable, like very wise, it was like a very good direction in my life. It's like, and even that I couldn't see. I was like, who is this guy? Like, that took me a while to get, but yeah, he'll still throw you a bone even if you're like totally not there. He'll keep trying. He won't give up on you, even if we give up on him.
I sometimes hear that expression. But you know, the thing with divine is that with God is that he's not throwing you a bone, he's giving you the whole deal. It's just that we are not able to grab the whole thing, so we just grab a little bone.
Yeah.
But he's giving you a full deal. He's giving you like, here is the whole package, the whole, you know,
They'll give you what you're ready for, though, right?
for sure.
Or what you're ready to accept in the kind of package that you're ready to accept it in.
Yes. So it's 9 o'clock now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Veda.
Thank you. So no time for questions today, unless you're really dying to ask questions. But it's really nice to be with all of you on this weekly Gita discussions. And you're welcome to please present any of your meditations and your questions and your reflections in the chat. I would love to hear your reflections on everything we've shared or anything we shared. Do you like to hear people's opinions, Radha?
Yeah, for sure. I like to hear people's experiences. I like to get to know our live people better too, because then I feel like I like know them a little bit. Like I feel like I know Lisa because she shares. I know Brittany well. I mean, I know my Pittsburgh people and
I'm still
some
trying
of you
to
that I
get, I'm
don't.
still trying to get to know Brittany.
Oh,
She
she's a
doesn't share
gem.
enough.
Brittany's a gem. Brittany's teaching yoga at our retreat
I
in
know. I did.
at New Vrindavan. And there's still spots. So please come and do this with us all weekend. We can get to know everyone.
Okay,
Okay.
beautiful souls. Have a
Thank you all.
wonderful week. Today is the Labor Day. I'm not quite sure what that means. We're all laborers in this world. I guess that's what they're celebrating, that we are Shudras. But whatever that means to you, please enjoy the day and have a lot of fun. Namaste, beautiful souls. Thank you all very much. And we'll see you Thursday.
Thanks, Veda. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Radha.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you. Have
Namaste,
a good
everyone.
Bye. Thank you.